Welcome to another Wall Street Informer production on WSI TV.
Welcome into another episode of WSI TV. I'm Jordan Bishop, market analyst, and I'm here today with our chief editor of Wall Street Informer at thewallstreetinformer.com, Sean Bauer. As you can see, he's about to take his punishment from last week. We did our little column versus, and he lost with his pick, and I won. So I threw the dart, and he got the ice bucket challenge. So here it is. All right, as you can see, Sean's now soaking wet after getting that bucket of ice water tossed over his head.
Yeah, that was horrible. And so, I needed a wardrobe change, as you can see.
Yeah, I can. So you won't be doing that again, will you?
Yeah, well, let's hope not. Let's hope not.
I mean, that definitely brings us to the next interesting topic, where we're going to update our latest verses, you know, because obviously Sean has seen how it goes when you lose and what happens. And I think
so we just picked again last week. If you weren't with us, we for the second round of verses. Obviously, I just took the punishment for the first round. For the second round of verses, we made our picks last week. Jordan, you took CLD.
CLD, yep.
Yeah, and that started at 518. That was our entry for that, right? It's already up to 580.
Yeah.
I believe that's something like 12%.
Yeah, just about
12% in a week. In a week.
So as you can see, things are looking up for me right now. I don't want to speak too soon because, as we know, the market has been shifting a lot lately, which we'll get to. But I'm all smiles right now after seeing what happened to Sean. So
I mean, that's just ridiculous. 12% in the week. Yeah. I know my stock MO, which is Altria Group, the big cigarette company, it's actually up almost 2%.
Yeah, which is still
which is nice.
Yeah,
just not compared to 12%.
Yeah, so. I mean, we're not necessarily talking about gains here. You know, we're talking about me versus you, my stock versus your stock. I mean, mine was a penny stock, and as we were talking about earlier, I have had another great success in that. But
yeah, the penny stock king. Let me see if I can find it here in my notes. Yeah, so Jordan was just telling me, he didn't know I was going to do this. Jordan was just telling me about his SID pick that he invested in himself. I mean, this is why we call him the penny stock king. He got in at 292, and I think roughly 3 weeks later, it was up to 378 when he closed it. Yeah. 30% gains in less than a month. I mean, get that anywhere else.
Yeah, that was a nice one for me. I felt really good about that one.
Yeah.
But
all right, well, anyway, these are our picks we're going to follow through with until next week. Is that right?
Yeah, next Thursday we'll update, and then we'll see who's spinning the wheel of misfortune and who's going to feel the unruly wrath of the
I can already tell you it's not fun to have to spin that wheel. So
it's fun to watch, though. I hope you get to see it, but I hope it's when we get Mark Baker.
Exactly. When we get Jim Sampson on, we'll see if one of us can take him down. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll get to that next week. For now, though, we just had some really big news. Dow Jones finally hit 20,000 after, I know a few weeks ago we touched on it. You had correctly said it wasn't in the very near future going to break 20,000. It took it roughly 3 weeks to actually get there.
Yeah.
We finally did. What does that mean?
We also touched last week on how it was taking that necessary pullback that it would need to reach the 20,000.
Good point.
And as we saw, it broke it. It broke out, what, yesterday? Or the day before? It broke out on Wednesday.
Right.
And it just broke right above that 20,000 when it opened. So, I mean, there's a lot to say about it, really, a lot to cover in such a short time span. But, you know, I know we were talking earlier about Trump mentioned, you know, early on in his campaign that he mentioned it was a bubble. It was a bubble, the Trump bubble or whatever they called it.
Yeah, and to be honest, probably rightly so. I mean, he was looking at the right things. It's wildly overvalued.
Exactly,
or at least it has been.
Yeah, it has been, but now we don't really know. You know, the market might have caught up with itself, breaking that 20,000, and you know, in one sense, he could be. He said the other week, or he said yesterday. Now we have to go up. We don't want it to stay there. He's exactly right, and I don't know whether that's him being alarmed or him being. You know, more of a technical.
Right. I mean, is that wishful thinking now that he's actually the one in the White House whenever it matters to his record?
Yeah. Which you know, it leads on to the other point where people were saying that he probably wants the market to crash early on, so he doesn't have to deal with the repercussions of it booming through his first year and then dropping for the next 3 years. You know.
That's exactly right, Jordan. I mean, the market works in cycles. I mean, if you paid attention to it, if you do back testing, you know that, and it's, I mean, they're inevitable.
It's natural and it's good for the stock market. It's how the economy breathes, you know, it exhales and inhales.
Exactly, and it just makes sense for Trump to want that, whether it's a crash or just a downturn and a healthy correction.
Exactly.
It makes sense that he would want that early on so that he has time during his first term to be able to get the market back up, to get voters back on his side.
Yeah, so that bears the question, you know, how does he actually feel about it, you know?
Right.
He's saying we don't want it to stay there, rightly so, because if it lingers too long, it could prove to be negative for the market.
True, true.
But great day for the Dow Jones, great day for investors around the globe, but you know, we'll see where it takes it, you know?
Yeah, so. That's exactly right, that's exactly right. All right, now we'll keep track of the Dow 20,000. But right now I want to move on to something I'm calling the earnings payout trick.
Yeah.
It's worked for us time and time again. It's really a timeless maneuver with your own stock trading strategy. As you know, it's earnings season, so that means, Jordan, as you know, companies start to make their quarterly earnings reports, basically just a report card on how the company did the past quarter. The ridiculous thing is that all that really matters is, you know, what some analysts forecast for that earnings report.
Yeah, and
it just has to beat the earnings report or not.
Yeah, you know? And then the stock reacts to that. It's a little, this technique is a little bit of a mix between fundamental analysis and technical analysis. So
that's a good point. Yeah, but this payout trick, what we're really looking at is the day right before the earnings are supposed to get released.
Right, yeah.
So you can look up whenever the earnings report date is for any company. It's scattered over the course of 5 weeks or so. We just had some report, and the one I'm highlighting here is actually for eBay. Now I want you to kind of direct your attention to the far right of the chart. Now you can see that that big spike, that's the day after the earnings were reported. So the day before, we saw a decent little up day, but the big thing I want to highlight is down in the bottom right corner there, we saw a big buying volume spike, which is just a really big hint, you know, that the day before earnings are actually reported. It's a huge hint that that stock is going up. Somebody knows something about the earnings. That's why there's such that humongous buying spike. And of course, you can see the next day, I mean, it opened up near $33 when the day before it was near $30. So that's a gigantic
It's insider trading, right? You have to call it that.
Yeah, I mean exactly. A spade's a spade, you know? Yeah, so that, I mean, right away, overnight, which is, we also call this the overnight, you know, payout trick, because it works like that over and over again. Overnight, I mean, that's insane gains. Yeah. And I mean, can you imagine having an option on that?
I mean, that would just be, that would be, you could
50%,
pack it in right
maybe
there,
double your money overnight. I mean, that's just ridiculous, you know?
It would be amazing, yeah.
And this is something you can use over and over again. And it works both ways too. The day before earnings, if you see a big selling volume spike, Jordan, you can also, you know, have confidence that it's going pretty far down the next day. And you want to short
sell it.
Exactly. Short selling, just buying in reverse, so you're betting against it. All right, so just to recap on today's episode, I guess we started horribly with me taking my punishment for the versus loss.
Depending on how you take that. I'm sure it was entertaining for you guys as it was for me.
Exactly. So we had that update on versus again. We're going to finish that up next week with our picks. We still have to look at the Dow 20,000. It finally reached that milestone. We'll see where it goes next. And then we finished up with that earnings payday trick, you know, that we just went through. Yeah. So do we have any other notes?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up before we go, I know we mentioned it in the first episode. We had a pick from our seminar that we did back in December, which was UBR. This has always looked like a great stock for the past, you know, at least couple months.
Exactly. For those of you who were at the annual Wealth Summit with us early on in December this past year, December 2016, of course, we gave you a few stock picks, some live picks. Jim Sampson and I on stage did these. One of them was UBR. I don't know the exact stats, but it's just kept looking good. I
mean, when we entered the trade, or when we were talking about the trade, it was at $52.
Right.
It closed today at $72, and that's a 38% gain. You know, and that's I mean, that's a couple months.
That's, probably a month and a half, just under 2 months.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great example of a nice stock pick that you could buy in, you can sit on it, and just watch your money grow.
Right. I mean. Yeah, watch $1,000 turn into, you know, $1,400.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Almost as impressive as your SID 30% in 1 month. That's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Come off that.
Yeah. All right. Well, of course, that's it for this episode. Thank you, the viewer, for being with us, of course. Thank you, Jordan, for being with us.
Thank you, Sean.
Thanks for pouring water on my head.
Yeah, no problem.
And we'll speak to you next time. Cheers.
Thanks for watching another Wall Street Informer production on WSI TV. Be sure to visit wallstreetinformer.com, where you can become a member for free and gain instant access to the secrets of market millionaires via the Wall Street Informer Vault. So go ahead and claim this gift for free now at wallstreetinformer.com.